Thanks for staying with us on the program. It's Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and joining us on the program for more on this is the counter-terrorism expert, Olatunbosun Abolariwa. Thank you for joining us on the program. It's another January 15, and we've seen wreath-laying ceremonies across the country. Walk us through the significance of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day.
Well, thanks very much for having me, and Happy New Year to you. It comes with a mixed feelings when we talk about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and you get different perspective of it from different sectors of the populace. For me, from my position as a stakeholder in that constituency, it is really personal in the sense that fortunately and unfortunately, I happen to live right opposite the National Cemetery. So I don't remember the armed forces only on the Remembrance Day. I remember them every day when crying of loved one wakes me up from my sleep every time they are burying a hero, a fallen hero. I get to see their wives, I get to see their parents, I get to see their children right from the window of my house. And it is every day that I feel really sad for them. I pray that their death is not in vain. And it's not only the Army, I'm talking about the Navy, I'm talking about the Air Force, the police, the civil defense, and every other armed member that happens to lose their lives every day protecting the security integrity of the nation. I pray that their soul will rest in perfect peace. And I've listened to various politicians from various states talking about welfare, talking about various incentives for the family they leave behind. You see, I'm using this media to appeal to the government at all levels, local government, state government, and the federal government, to ensure that we send the right signal to all these heroes going out to defend us, that if eventually anything they signed for happened to them, which is always the worst, their loved one will not suffer.
We'll get to talk.
Federal government.
Yes, Mr. Abolariwa, we'll get to talk some more about the welfare of these fallen heroes and those who are actually still, still active in service. But this one we're celebrating this year now, it's the first time that President Bola Tinubu, would be marking this as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. It's been almost a year now since he's in office. What would you say about, his commitment to supporting the families of the fallen heroes?
With the little we've heard of what he has done so far, with his comments, we need to take it at face value for now. I would like to say that he has started in the right direction with some of the incentives we had that he has given. We hope that there could be more, and we hope that as he has taken this steps to remember and appreciate our fallen heroes, every other sector that can appreciate them should do so too.
Indeed. And then, of course, on one hand, we're talking about those who have paid the supreme price, for our dear nation, Nigeria. And also, there are those who are in active service who are working day and night to ensure that we can sleep with our two eyes closed. But it's important for their morale to be boosted. We know that we hear about the Army chief and other top military brass visiting them, spending time with them to just ensure that they understand that they are not alone in the war front. But how more, in what other ways really can we help to boost their morale?
Okay, one of the other ways to boost their morale is just for us not to wait until the 365 days again before we remember them. There are things that are supposed to start taking place from tomorrow, from all sectors of life, to show that we appreciate them. I have an habit of meeting them on the road and thanking them, shake their hand, and telling them that we appreciate their sacrifices wherever I meet them. So that's for the members of the public to also know that we need to appreciate them. We also need to ensure that the family they leave behind are getting the everyday needs, not only during the period of remembrance. So there needs to be some project in place. We're also talking to all civil society organizations to try and go deeper and see what they are going through. And let me just point this out. It is not only those who are fallen that we should remember. There are wounded who cannot serve anymore. There are people who have incurred some kind of injury, some kind of ailment and sicknesses while they are serving. I must say to you that from my experience, in the last 65 days, I've met some of them really, really struggling to continue living. I hope more could be done to remember those who are alive among them and going through one difficulties or the others too. More can be done and more should be done.
Indeed, because the ceremonies are usually so colorful, and then many say, okay, this is beautiful, but then really it has to translate to the quality of life that the families that leave behind actually live, and those who are still alive, the quality of life that they actually live. But let's talk about Nigeria's share. Now, Nigeria has had its fair share, of coups back in the day from the very first in 1966. But it's quite significant that today now the military is subordinate to civilian authority. Right.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I want to commend them for that. I happen to be close to some of them at the top rank of the military these days, and I'm really amazed at how much they are willing to support the cause of democracy and even doing their bit to sustain it. That is very, very important, and it is something that we must also do something back, give something back to them to ensure that their morale is boosted in every way. I want to thank them for their support to democracy too, which is something that I cannot overemphasize. And what they are still doing at the moment to ensure that we are able to keep our eyes closed. We want to thank them for that, and we hope that there should be more collaboration, more involvement, and more inclusion of them in our day-to-day governance, democratic activities to ensure that they are not just condemned to the barracks. I must say that one of the most brilliant units of governance or of our endeavor are the militaries in Nigeria. We have one of the most brilliant officers in the world in the course of my interface with them. Recently, I have to present a paper to one of them, and I realized that I have to go back and redo the paper when I heard what he said. I couldn't hand the paper in anymore. So they are very, very brilliant, and they could be useful to the cause of democracy and other facets of life too. They have engineers that can build bridges, they can build roads, they can come to our rescue during flooding and other natural disasters. But government needs to make sure that they do the needful for them to be able to do these wonderful things. I give kudos to them for what they do.
Indeed, the brilliance should be celebrated. Talk about some of them who are actually involved in the armed forces, building, airplanes, for the counter-terrorism fight. That's quite massive, impressive. Talking about those who have had to go out of the country to defend the territorial integrity of other nations, that's quite very significant also. And here in Nigeria, we have noticed in recent times especially that more and more members of the armed forces are seen among people. There used to be that word about they should be in their barracks, but we've had them have to support the police and, the paramilitary agencies in securing the country, in protecting lives and property of the everyday Nigerian. What do you say about that, really?
Yeah, anybody who says the military should be condemned to the barrack does not really know what they are saying. The functionality of the military is actually twined with our day-to-day life. You don't sit in the barrack and protect the integrity of any nation. They go around too. There are 8 cases where some village does not have police station. That if you travel from Abuja to the southwest now and go through Ondo axis, you will understand why there has been some peace and tranquility in that area in the last 3 or 4 months. We have military men supporting the policemen on the road. If you travel across Ondo or War, their presence is there to flush out the criminal out of our bushes. Recently, there was a kidnapping attempt somewhere in Kaba. It was them that came out to actually repel the kidnappers. So their job is not in the barrack. Their job is actually on the road. And with the current situation of the country, we need more of them to take care of some of the problems facing us, not only in the bush, even in the city. So if you go around Lagos, Ibadan, you see up Mesa pickups still going around giving police support. In most of area commands in Lagos, there are up Mesas there backing the police up. They don't belong to the barrack. It belongs to be among us, within us. We need to interface. Well, the moment they put off their uniform, they're also members of the public strategically. So we need to change that mentality of saying they belong to the barrack. No, we need them in town. We need their activities in town. And they also need our support in all facets of our democracy.
And
so
talking
the
about
politicians
support,
and people need to understand that more needs to be done for them to support them. I'm not talking about the army alone now. I'm talking about all the armed forces.
You know, talking about support, really, it's gone to a point where for some people, you know, when they see any member of the armed forces, it's more about fear than, you know, respect for them, for the sacrifice that they actually make for the country. They are scared because they're like, okay, these are armed forces, you know, officials, or especially when they have to do with the military. I mean, if these are military officers, can I go near them? Can I have a conversation with them? How would they attend to me? Because they seem to be all, you know, stern-faced, and then they are just unsure what could happen. How do you think individuals can better approach them? And what approach do you think that those who are still serving should actually have in relating with civilians?
Well, I will want to turn that around a little bit. Yes, people should feel free to approach the army. They are service providers like every other service providers too. And there is protocol of how you should approach the army. But I must say that the Nigerian military too needs to do more in the area of how they portray themselves to the members of the public. There is more to do. And I must confess to you, every time I have reason to deal with them at any level, their response is always very, very fantastic to me. And I think more should be done in their public relation. I think they need to do more than the police when it comes to how they portray themselves to the public. I noticed that the advent of social media has really brought them out. And I can see that some of them does not really want to live and die in the barrack. They are also interfacing with people. Let us interface with them, and we have a lot to learn from them.
Yes, indeed. And as we celebrate the fallen heroes, you know, I'm here in the studio putting on this emblem, but apparently this would be the last time I would have to wear it, because today is the final day we're celebrating them until a new appeal fund is launched by Mr. President towards the end of the year, and we can do this again next year. So what are your final thoughts, really, about these officers who pay the supreme sacrifice for our dear nation, Nigeria?
Yeah, my final thought is that apart from appreciating them when they have paid final hero, the people they left behind, there is still a lot to be done. Most of them, the police and the army, especially the junior officers, the moment they are dead, they are checked out of the barrack after some time. And one of the first problems they face is the problem of accommodation. I want to use this media to appeal to the armed forces across board to do more in terms of accommodation for the family of the fallen heroes. Apart from that, too, we have to do more for the education of the fallen hero. It should be of priority to them. And there is a lot of opportunity out there now. There are developers who can help you develop land specifically for the families that they left behind. So I want to use this media to appeal to the government, to appeal to the all affected ministry to do more for widows, children of the fallen heroes, so that they will not feel sadly the absence of their loved one. If this is done, and other organizations are stepping in form of palliative to support them, it will give a good morale to those who are alive and still serving. That if anything eventually happened to me and I pay the ultimate price, my family will be taken care of. We need to do that and ensure that.
All right. Counterterrorism expert, Olatunbo Sanbolaiwa, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.